let's learn about tissue fluid and its formation. Now, before we think about the formation of tissue fluid, let's get an appreciation for actually what it is. In our previous descriptions, we talk about substances diffusing from the blood into cells and from cells back into blood. And we talk about gas exchange and then ions and minerals and glucose and things like that. What actually is there between the capillary and the actual cells? They're not stuck together. There is a medium between the cells and the blood vessels, the capillaries. This medium, the solution, is called tissue fluid. And we say that tissue fluid bathes cells. It surrounds cells. And it contains the things that the cell needs, like glucose. It will contain amino acids. It will contain fatty acids, ions, oxygen. It will contain the things that the cells need. And so the substances like glucose and amino acids will go from our digestive system into our blood, then from the blood into the tissue fluid, then from the tissue fluid into the cells. Okay, so tissue fluid is the medium that substances will move through in order to move from the blood to the cells. And there's things that the cells need or the things that tissue fluid will contain. The cells are going to respire and produce things that the cells no longer need. So the tissue fluid will also contain waste products like carbon dioxide and other waste products. Okay, and those waste products will move from the cells to the tissue fluid and from tissue fluid to the blood. Okay, so that is what tissue fluid is. It's a watery liquid and it has in it the substances that cells need as well as the substances that cells don't need. Okay, it's the medium through which material substances are exchanged. Okay, let's think about how it's formed. We've already spent a bit of time thinking about the structure of the arteries and veins, and here we have the artery with its small lumen. The blood in the arteries is under high pressure compared to the vein. Okay. The heart pumps the blood through the arteries, arterioles, and ultimately into the capillaries. Now, when we have the pressure of a liquid moving, we call that hydrostatic pressure. So at the arterial end here, we say there's high pressure. The blood is being pumped under high pressure. So we say there is high hydrostatic pressure at the arterial end. This high pressure at this end forces, well, we'll worry about that later. There's hydrostatic pressure here, kind of having an impact from the blood to the surroundings, but it's also being resisted. There's also pressure working against this hydrostatic pressure. So this outward force is opposed by the hydrostatic pressure of the tissue fluid itself. That's going to resist the movement of substances, but also the low water potential of the lower water potential of the blood itself. Okay, so the potential for water in the blood is low. So that is going to cause an interaction between the outward pressure and then the pressure opposing it. Ultimately, taking into account the differences in these pressures, the hydrostatic pressure forces substances to move out of the blood into the tissue fluid. So, those opposing forces are overcome. So the overall pressure pushes tissue fluid out of the capillaries at the arterial end. So tissue fluid is pushed out of the capillaries at the arterial end. Remember what tissue fluid is. It's a solution that contains all the things that the cells need. This pressure, although it's high, is only enough for small things to move into the tissue fluid. So larger things like cells and proteins don't move out. So cells don't move, proteins don't move out, they're too big, but these substances will. This type of movement of substances due to hydrostatic pressure is called ultrafiltration. Okay, ultrafiltration. The substances go to the respiring cells, respiration takes place, other chemical reactions take place. Waste products and carbon dioxide then, as a result of all the metabolic reactions that are taking place, will then, so waste and CO2 will return back into the capillary. Okay. So we'll put here glucose, amino acids are forced out. Ions, O2. So all these things are forced out. The cells and proteins stay behind. The waste products are forced back in at the venule end here. By the time the blood has got to the veins, the pressure is low. We can say that the hydrostatic pressure is low. Okay. So this formation of tissue fluid happens due to the difference in hydrostatic pressure.